Well, what is going on, everybody? This is the Cloud9 podcast, season 8, episode 20. And we didn't have an episode on Sunday because me and Chaz both came home, and I don't know if we had some mental connection because we both ended up just straight up passing out. Middle came home, and I was like, all right, our show's at 5:30, but I had Lucius on at 7, so I thought to myself, oh, I can just come in, get the show in for about an hour and some change, and go to Lucius. Turns out my body hit that bed, I just died. That's kind of how it happened. And then by the time I woke up, it was already like 6:30, and I was like, there's no way to make this happen. And we were thinking about just putting off an episode until this Sunday coming up, but I was like, no, because I kind of want to tackle something different this Sunday coming up, and that's just regarding just the LEC in general. So this is going to be an episode. We'll just for like an hour 10, go over just like the LCS and just the LCS in 2023, because this was Chaz's first year watching the LCS in full, because last year he started watching in summer 2022, But this was his first year watching the full calendar year for the LCS. This is my 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 2. It's my ninth year fully watching the LCS. It'll be 10 years fully watching the LCS next year when it starts up for LCS 2024 spring. So that's going to be crazy. And there's a lot that happened this year for the most part. And it kind of feels like it was like a slog to get through. You know what I'm saying? Like, yep. It felt like at a certain single point, it was just like, oh, I know how good these teams are. Not good, actually. A lot of the teams that people thought would have been good started out completely trash, then got better in spring, but still didn't end up really doing anything. I mean, there's a lot to really go over. I mean, like someone asked us about the whole Dash thing, I think on my Discord. I guess we'll just start there. Shit. Like the way that Riot did that situation is just super interesting because it shows people just how malicious these people are and lying to people, even though like I've been with this company for so long. I know when they're lying to people, it's like they'll say something and then they'll never even have a point where they're addressing certain things anymore, Yeah. Remember how like it was revealed that Dash was going to be part of the broadcast for this year?
Yeah.
And then Travis had that interview, and the lady who runs the LCS, or I think she is a part of running the LCS in some capacity, like their interim commissioner, because Jackie Felling, who was the LCS commissioner last year, well, she just spent all her time on Reddit, and she, quit actually, So they don't have a commissioner right now for the LCS, and Travis had this interview with these two. You could tell, like, they obviously told him what he can and can't ask. It's just how those interviews kind of go. And I forgot, John Needham. That's his name. Yeah, John Needham.
Yeah.
He was mentioning that, we love Dash. Well, you'll see Dash around. We saw Dash at 2 of the finals, and we saw Dash randomly do that skydiving video with Dokla and contracts. And it's in the players' contracts, you cannot skydive or put yourself in any risky content that could involve you getting harmed. Yeah. It's like, bro, Riot just literally went around these teams' backs and got players, and they could have gotten injured, but Riot, they don't give a fuck, honestly. So that's just really bad. And given how the content structure of the broadcast, and I was on many shows for this season, is I think the broadcast got better, and the content got better. They had a lot of good stuff they were bringing on. And that was a step in the right direction, given how the broadcast was pretty bad for a long time. For the most part, just dull and bland and not really anything interesting. Whereas I felt like this year they really did actually have a good broadcast structure from spring to summer, despite the games all not being that good, And that's really hard for regions like this, is where like you can have a good broadcast, but the games are bad. Before it was the games are bad and the broadcasting's bad, and it's just like, let's just get through this slog together, It's like having sex with your wife who might be fat, Let's just get this done, That's gonna be bad. So yeah, Riot just treated Dash just so bad, It probably because he wanted more money, and they're like, you know what? We have other casters we'll just start hiring, Yep. Because what ended up happening was that Academy thing that ended up happening was they ended up bringing up, all those Academy casters that everyone had been watching for quite some time in Academy that way they created this economy where like you're not anyone special if you're a caster, and we could just replace you just on a dime if we really don't feel like we need you. You know,
he was disposable. That's what it was.
Yeah, and from his point of view, it's probably like, man, I've given like all these many years to this company. You just may potentially ask for a little bit more money.
My thing is, was the person that hired him the same person that fired him?
Shit, probably not. I would imagine.
And that's
he started in 2013 doing the hosting desk when they did the hosting desk type of thing. That was like 2013 spring.
The people that run Riot now, and
it's different. Yeah, there's been different people actually.
That's the issue. The biggest thing is this: a lot of times when new management comes in, they want to hire their own people. In a sense, they want to feel like this is their company or this is their brand.
Right.
Don't let go of the best person, and that happens a lot of times. Like it's the whole thing, and you should know this from personal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chip Kelly came in and got rid of all the good players just because he felt like they weren't team oriented enough, and that's what happens a lot of times. A new personnel comes in, and he wants to create his style of game. And a lot of people don't realize that. It's like, you don't realize that you're disposable to someone new comes in, and then they don't look at they value everybody the same. Even if, like, say you were working at a company for 15 years, but then you get new ownership, you're looked at as the same way in most situations as the same person that got hired a week ago. Like, and that's the sad part about it. Like, and I'm like, damn, it's sad. But the more I kept looking at it, like, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised.
I've been with companies like Konami and Marvel and DC, all these companies I've grew up with and stuff like that. You just know it's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen, and they're gonna try and play off like it's not as big a deal when we know they're not gonna keep someone around. You know. It's that thing where they did this thing with casters now to a point where they want casters to be like jack of all trades and stuff like that. And I feel like that really hinders someone's actual potential because not everyone really can be a jack of all trades. I mean, they tried to do that with Gabby or like Latigris, and that didn't work out. You know, Latigris was the person that they brought on to be like the host. And she was good at doing the interviews and the hosting, and they tried to put her to be a caster, and just didn't work out that way, you know? And I think when it comes to the whole Dash angle, if Dash is someone who's replaceable, then anyone's replaceable, you know? It means people like Captain Flowers, Azale, Kobe, Mark, Raz, Emily. If they're going to treat Dash that way, I would highly implore the casters to potentially start looking towards other avenues. Because at any point, if they feel like you're not what the product needs, they'll just get rid of you, even if you're a tenured veteran, actually, you know? So I don't know, maybe because they have put Dash on the whole Valorant side of things. Like maybe they put Dash on the Valorant side, like they were doing before with the VCT Americas, you know, earlier this year. That's probably a possibility. So I was going to ask you this too. Do you think they should have it where it should be like the VCT Americas, where it's just combined Americas, you know? So like the CB LOL would be like combined with the LCS.
CB LOL, LLA, and CB
America.
LOL.
Yeah, it'd be just the Americas. The LCS would be Brazil, North America, and Mexico.
Those three, yeah.
And I feel like that's better. Like when I look at the Valorant model, because what I told people when it came to franchising, and I've been here since the franchising phase, or before that too, it's just looking at the way they did. Because remember in that one interview they had, where they were talking to Travis, and they were like, you know, we learned a lot from our first franchising, and we learned a lot from that. They learned a lot to the point where they realized this might be another way of doing esports franchising than the traditional business sports model, which kind of doesn't really work here because there's not that, you know, consistent flow of revenue, like we talked about that, the media rights deals that the NFL, NBA, all those people have, where the Valorant thing, basically, for those who doesn't know, because you'll play Valorant, is basically they give you a slot. There's 30 teams. You can't sell your slot. There's the kick here. They pay you. They pay you to be in their game. So it does create this really valuable way of trying to get into being a Valorant. And there is some sort of like relegation thing they added, but I don't know how much they're going to actually enforce that, But there's the angle of, hey, you can go through the challenger scene and potentially have a chance to go to the VCT Americas, like the World Championship that they have, or to get into the Americas, And I think I don't want to give Riot any credit, but they did kind of make a better franchising system then when they obviously went through this one and the other ones they did in the other leagues too, because they realized this probably isn't the way. Like maybe it kind of was an idea that they had that might have been kind of good, but given how like everything shaped up and the venture capitalist money dried up, sponsorship started leaving. And everyone's so weird. Everyone just blamed 100 Thieves. Like, oh, they're losing a lot of sponsors. Guys, everyone was losing sponsors. It's not just them. Sponsors in general started pulling out, Riot themselves lost sponsors. Yeah, it's not just one org or it's not just one team losing sponsors. Everyone lost sponsors because, people were and are still massively scared of the recession potentially coming, So I think having a super league, I've never been opposed to the idea. I think it honestly helps out so much, though. Honestly, there might just be, this might sound kind of fucked up, but there needs to be like less teams then. Because a super league, I would potentially want a super league of like, it's hard because it'll be like the Americas, so it won't be like the best teams.
This is what I think you need to do. I think you need to do divisions. Mm-hmm. You need to split it up. You're restructuring everything. Pretty much what you're doing is okay. You got 10 teams in the what? In the
VCT Americas, I think it's like 30. Honestly,
no. I'm talking about in the League of Legends.
Oh, for League of Legends, yeah.
You got 10 teams in the LCS. How many teams? 10 teams in the CBLOL or 8?
10, yeah. And I think in Latin America, I'm pretty sure it's 10 too.
If they're all 10 teams, I think the way you should do it, you do it in the sense where, because
people are going to be like, man, I contribute a lot to this league and I do this other thing. I would say you could, because having them all combined is crazy. But the problem here is having them all combined does add in, it makes it easier to sponsor, and garner sponsors for one league rather than garnering sponsors for like 5 leagues. You know what I mean? So I think people don't understand that though. So since sponsorship money is dried up across the board for a lot of these teams, okay? Yeah. What's easier, getting one sponsor like Dove? Let's say Dove, like L'Oreal, Tresemme, the girl, but they promote like women's health and all that stuff. What's easier, getting one of them to sponsor one league or getting one of them to sponsor 3 leagues? That's something I don't know if League of Legends will ever do that. I that's why I really like watching the VCTs in America. I don't play Valorant that much or at all, but I like that model though. Yeah. One league for each of them, all super leagues. And whoever makes out of that, one sponsor, potentially whoever wants to sponsor can go in. But it's an easy, because, when it comes to like VCT Americas and stuff like that, you're watching all the Americas teams in one place, Because for League of Legends, I have to watch the LCS on one channel. I got to watch the LEC on another channel. I watch the LP on another channel. I go to the LCK. Now, next year, we're talking about watching Brazil. Remember? We're going to watch Brazil on another channel, That's crazy. And the same thing that we talked about earlier, like the esports content that we were watching. How they made all those different YouTube channels that ended up just amounting to nothing. That's like spreading yourself too thin already. So I wouldn't be opposed to a super league. I don't know how they'd ever navigate it because they'd be damaging a lot of partnerships with that potentially, because you're basically saying 5 teams out of LCS, 5 orgs out of Brazil, 5 orgs out of LLA, which is just Mexico. Maybe that's your super league. The 5 best orgs or 5 best teams.
Nah, I wouldn't do that. I think
if you want to combine them all, you can. But
no. This what it should be is it's like a kind of like a relegation kind of system. I know it sucks, but this is my thing. I think what you do is you get the best talent. Pretty much what it is a lot of how you put it. Pretty much I would just get rid of Academy, but the way I would get rid of Academy is not completely get rid of them. Is if
you
were
making a feeder league.
In a sense, like I would like in a sense like this. You know how there's teams that are in the Challenger Academy League, but they're not in the LCS. I would have it like that. That's mean FlyQuest would have an Academy team. A lot of times, what you would do is it's like a structure. You'll have people who are extra people. That means you'll have a backup team just in case someone gets sick. That person fills in. That person is always going to be your scrim partner in the SIG, but there would be no actual the Challenger League would be the equivalent. You would have about, I would say, I'm trying to say 16 teams. Kind of 16 teams, and the way you do it is you have it'll be 16. I'm trying to say 16 to 20 some teams.
What it is the teams you have 30 teams, right?
Yeah, the way you would do it is the teams that are the worst, they get relegated to the Challenger League, and the team there they have a chance. Like the top 4 teams in the Challenger League have a chance to face off against the bottom 4 team. Whoever wins that is that. Those 4 teams move up. Like it'd be like a not a round robin. Should it be a round robin? Like, cause the way it should be is like a tournament.
If you're going on that angle and we're going with the VCT approach, then obviously they could get relegated because they didn't pay for their slot. The slot Riot pays you depending on your performance, actually, you know?
Yeah.
I think could we see a world where that's a thing? I don't know. Oh, my bad. It's like 30 teams. Jesus Christ, I'm old. There's 10 teams, actually. So then again, that because I realized that's why I mentioned it earlier. You'd have to pick the best partners you think would be the best ones for you, you know? So you couldn't take 30 teams. You take the 10 best teams. So that would be potentially, we know that LCS is going to favor the people here. So like, you know, Cloud9, TSM, Team Liquid probably get thrown in there. People that have probably won championships, like 100 Thieves, going to be in there probably.
Yep.
That's like 4 right there. That's like 5 right there, right?
Yeah. Pretty much like teams like IMT.
Loud. You take Loud in there. Loud's pretty big in Brazil.
Yep. Loud, R7.
You take R7, yeah.
Like you're taking those teams, right? And then you wait because and I think I think Europe's the only one that's kind of safe because Europe's big enough. They just combine. They just
that's the thing is the LCS it's the fact that it's small. We need some sort of like, I guess if they're trying to like expand, then they need to kind of abolish one of the leagues. But the problem here, that can't probably be a possibility. Then we won't be doing it anytime soon because Brazil draws in more viewership. Like, why would they kill a product that draws in more viewership?
You have to combine the LLA with Brazil. That's the thing. Because I think in China they could do this. They could crush out the PCS and you can put the PCS right into the LPL. You take because the ocean region, that one that just got relegated out of going to Worlds. You take the top 4 performing teams of all time. Push them into the PCS. You take the top, like all the teams that are in Hong Kong, just put them in China, or it's like because I know it's Hong Kong, it's different, but it's like,
yeah. So that's how I would do it personally. I mean, it's just I don't know how much people realize that it does have an effect on viewership having 5 different leagues to watch. You know, obviously LCK and China are fine. They have big enough fan bases to support that. Idealistically, from a viewership standpoint, Europe does too, you know. But from the LCS point of view, I'd probably merge it with something, but I don't think they will. actually, because that would require Riot to actually be making the decisions during the broadcast. So yeah, the whole Dash situation was pretty bad. The broadcast was fine, got better for the most part. We also had the Tigress getting fired. That was the one that was really crazy.
Fired/retired, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, apparently now she's moved to Nashville. She's just gotten away from everything. She said she'll be speaking about the situation, but these guys never do. They always say that, but they never do. It's always, and even if they do, it's always really tame. It's like, no, I left on my own accord, and people ask like, any reason why you left? They're like, I
mean, but the issue is it's not a reason to know. That's the thing about it. It's like it's one of those things that are cool. She's no longer here. I just be like, all right, cool. She's no longer
well,
here.
I would like to know specifically, is there a reason why? Because if they fired you, that's different.
I'll be honest, I don't really give a fuck. She's no longer here. That's my main thing. I'm like, okay, cool. You're no longer here. All right, cool.
Yeah. Well, to me, it'd be nice to know the reason why, because it would go along the lines of what would they deem not good enough out of a person to get rid of them.
I mean, you see what the fuck she was doing.
Yeah, you're complete trash. Yeah, people for Tigers, no one's gonna bring this up, but I was watching this shit live. That bitch was moaning, okay, on broadcast, okay. As I'm not one of those guys where it's like you can't have any like leeway when it comes to this kind of things. Yeah. But when you're a caster and you're doing shit like that, it's so cringe. Like, I do believe this happened. I think she did have an effect on viewership. I think people drastically didn't watch when she was on.
Yeah.
The only reason why I did is because I gotta watch. If it's live and there's nothing else going on, then I'm tuning in. But dear God, if there was anything else on, I would not watch if she was on, because it was agony watching her speak about League, but just disgusting, But then I think Riot knew that to some extent, that she was kind of going down the drain. So that's why they brought up all those other academy guys to kind of potentially be potential replacements too. We're casting at Worlds. Imagine if she was casting a Gen G T1 matchup.
That'd be disgusting.
That'd be like, Faker with the blood running through his veins. Shit. Jesus. Oh my God, Chobi with the blood running through his veins. Oh my God, that would have been so cringe.
Just imagine her and Kitty both casted at the same time. They just start moaning.
But the thing with Kitty, the reason why they probably wouldn't gotten rid of her, at least from the LPL point of view, is Kitty doesn't try to given how Riot wants her to do her job, Kitty doesn't try to be a shoutcaster. Yeah, Kitty doesn't go out of the. Kitty kind of stays in her lane. It felt like with Tigress, I don't know if she pushed this or Riot did, but it really felt like she was trying to basically become like some sort of female version of Captain Flowers with less knowledge.
I think it was more of them trying to push it on us because that
too, yeah.
Because I felt like that came out of nowhere.
Because she was doing interviews and then suddenly she just started shoutcasting. It's like, this sounds terrible. People are gonna misogynist. It's like, I don't give a fuck if it does sound misogynist. She stunk. Just complete garbage. I don't think she got better over time. She just kept making the same mistakes, and I could like give someone leeway with making a few mistakes here and there, and you're still learning. But over a year, and you've not improved at all. Like, no one would give the guys that level of leeway.
No.
Why should we give this to her? Like, if you're not going to do that with the guys, you don't give that to her. That's called fair, So, since you watched the LCS for the first time the whole year, did you enjoy it? Or you could just kind of like, it was on, so I just kind of just watched it.
It was all right, but it was just there. I mean, like,
so I think it was the lack of GMing that made good teams, and the lack of exciting gameplay too. Because like so if I'm going through all the games this year, one of the games that were super exciting was that game 4. With FlyQuest and Golden Guardians, when Licorice was playing Malphite and he did that 4-man Malphite ult, I felt like there wasn't really a series. Not that I was hyped for. I like watching this stuff. I just didn't have that level of hype for this year for the LCS. Actually, I was just kind of like, these teams are just so bad. Actually,
it wasn't appealing.
The only reason why I brought up that game in that series in general is because it was nice to see like Licorice come back to form. It was nice to see an org that has been perennially like dog shit kind of like rise up. But outside of Golden Guardians' story, there wasn't really anything else this year. Cloud9 typically has a lot of good things going for them, but it kind of felt like for the most part, even when it was so weird in summer. Remember when they're not really supposed to be winning a lot of these games, but they're still winning these games. And you're like, this can't be good. Look, that shit's about to get exposed. Any team they play internationally is going to expose that shit. And you're like, how do they keep getting away with this? Because in spring with Cloud9, they come in with Diplex, and after week 3, they just bring in a Menace, and they just play with him for the rest of the year. And with Cloud9, they stopped spring, and you kind of knew going internationally they wouldn't be doing that good because Fudge is not a good international player. We've kind of seen the most out of Blabber internationally, and Menace's first. Usually, when people go to their first international events, they're usually pretty freaking bad. For the most part, you knew he was just gonna just fumble. And Berserker and Sven at Worlds, you're like, Berserker don't even got a real support, So then after that, you have Golden Guardians, and it's like, well, fucking Stick saying who we out here going 0-9. You're like, bro, we stink. We suck so bad, So that's the two best teams we're sending. Jesus, actual Christ, we're so garbage, And then you look at it from Cloud9's point of view from summer. Yeah, they got first place, but it was like, that a first place you're really proud of? Because those were bad games. Even the players themselves mentioned it. They're just disgusted by their gameplay. And it's not even, I hate when people say, you don't know what you're talking about, when it's like, they literally said it too. You're watching them. You can tell. No one's that stupid. You can see when someone's playing badly. You can see when someone doesn't win a game that they more or less should not have won based off the
because the team is fractured. It's a, I
think it came to MSI. Because I think at MSI, because in spring, they had this crazy, really fast-paced play style where they were trying to just push the lead. They were trying to get advantages. It felt like at MSI, because you scrim against a lot of these teams, it really felt like at MSI, they got maybe so exposed and brought down to earth that they got scared of doing what made them good, Because against BLG, against Gen G, I think Golden Guardians, you could do that because it's Golden Guardians, but really just felt like they just lost their identity and they never really got it back. And I hope at Worlds they'll do good. I always hope they do well, but looking at it now,
this might be worse than last year.
Well, last year people looked at it like, well, you just kind of got Jensen and Sven at Worlds together, and them kind of them winning that split was fine. But then again, it also had to deal with a lot of the other better teams than them kind of collapsing around them too.
Breaking apart. Now you know about 100 Seas and how they
had their internal issues the whole year. But they kind of got it back together in the playoffs when it really mattered.
Cloud9 peaked at the right time, but I was like, this team ain't winning nothing.
Yeah, Team Liquid had Pearson, so you're like, shit, that can only go so far. And I don't know, I'll be doing a video about it soon, right? I can fully go through all this stuff that you guys can see. But really, if you look at MSI this year when they went, you just saw the drastic downgrade in their play style. I don't really believe that play style they had before was going to effectively win them a lot of games, but it would have given them a better chance. I'd rather you play that play style and have a chance of winning games than play this play style where you're just kind of sitting there doing nothing and you're kind of hoping a team makes a mistake. It's like, you do know these teams are better macro wise, just strategically from every point of view than you. So you can't really do that against them. A lot of people think you can, but I've been watching for long. It's been proven time and time again. These guys are just super smart at the game. You have to come at it from a different angle. Like when you play trading card games or any game, if someone is mostly better than you at a style, you're probably going to have to change that style up. You have to, because you're not going to be beating them at it. You got to change it up a little bit. What do you think about 100 Thieves this year? Because coming off of their years from last year,
it was a new team. It was a new team. I told you. I told you last year. Mm-hmm. We don't know if they get better or worse. The only person that really benefited from moving on was FBI, but he moved on to two different teams. That's what it was like.
That's crazy, yeah. Well, who he and FBI are the ones that really got. Because who he went to MSI, he got second place. He's going to Worlds. FBI won a championship. He's also going to Worlds too. So, with them, it's weird.
They could have stayed together. No, they couldn't, because they might have griefed harder. We don't know. The thing is, a lot of times people say, "Oh, they did better on another team," energy wasn't good. Like let's keep that 100. They were not good. Like
I think people are attacking it from the angle of throwing away your best players for getting downgrades for the most part.
Like,
I think that's an angle you could look at it from. But to be fair, they were one game away in spring for beating Golden Guardians to getting top 4. That was a possibility.
No, it wasn't, because they were never going to win.
They were going to beat Golden Guardians, I think. I don't know. There's such a weird anomaly. You know, I know how much Nate Shot wants to win. I do.
Yeah.
I think he has to realize that when a team like they had before loses every finals, you got to still look at it. At least you made finals.
No. He that's the mindset of a loser. And it sucks. It's like sometimes I made finals. Eventually you start realizing, what the fuck is it going on? I can't win. It's like,
well, would you rather make finals and then throw away your best players? Because I think
I rather lose in the semifinals before losing in the finals.
I know losing the finals sucks, but
people don't remember who loses in the semifinals. People remember who loses in the finals.
I mean, at least you got to the finals.
Yeah, but if you
plus to make it back to back, they make 3 back to back ones too.
Yeah, the issue is it still looks bad because none of them look competitive. That's the issue. None of them. Yeah. That's the. I'd rather lose
Reaper too. You know, Reaper was so good for them. I don't know why they got rid of him. They got rid of him for Nuke Dog. Like a lot of that factor in some of the coaches that it
was probably a chemistry thing. It was probably sometimes a coach might be good, but he might not be he might not be the right coach. That happens sometimes. It's like sometimes it's better.
Well, remember they brought in Missy too. Remember?
Like, and then how long did he last?
No, he was just for that year. Remember?
Yeah, and then he was gone. It was like sometimes you try out people. All right, cool. You might be a great coach, and then it'll fit. And that's the sad part about it. It's like
that's just my thing. It's like I don't know if they overreacted or underreacted. I thought have kept parts that work. You don't have to throw away everything, you know.
But sometimes because you got to figure out what parts work and what parts don't work. That's why you take. If
it's me, who would you have kept then? Because they only kept who they keep. They kept Closer. Yeah,
Closer. Because at one point they always kept someday over Close. At one point they could have kept him. One point they could have kept because the main person was gone was Aradage. That was the first person.
That's the player that everyone underrated for their success. You know, everyone's gonna look at who he and the success he had when they left him. They're gonna be like, but he had success too. It's like Aradage also was don't forget before they had him, their mid laners were terrible. Bad. They were horrendous. He was like the best middle they've ever had, you know. Yep. And Nate Shot willingly went out and got him before that summer split started because he knew he was like one of the best players in the EU at that moment. He knew if he put him around Reaper was Lego by Cloud9. They knew they had a good squad. They already had a good squad. Just that mid lane position was the problem. They got a strong mid laner. They ended up winning Worlds a few times and having those finals appearances. And you look at how Aradage performed on Excel. You know, I think keeping. Potentially, if he still wanted to stay, you maybe could have kept him, but
you maybe could have. But that whole thing was the that summer 2022 finals. They were sitting in there that was lost. Not getting third team All Pro, not even third team. Lose to Jakuli.
Look at how he's played in Europe, dude. Look how he played in Europe, and people have the nerve and ball to tell us this is a bad player. It's like this is not a bad player. I've seen bad players.
No. You know it takes sometimes people get rid of you to show how well you are. The issue is we don't know
like you don't know what you lost till it's gone kind of thing.
Kind of situation. That's why 100 Thieves did a good thing for him. It might not have been good for them. It was good for him because we don't know if he would have been good because he might have still mentally been broken. Plus, it was the whole thing too. Like he might have just wanted to go back to EU. Sometimes that happens. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, nah, it ain't gonna work. It's like with me with the Pokemon deck. I went back to Giratina today and was waxed. And I'm like, you know what? And I played Giratina Goodra. I'm like, I'm gonna put Chin Pound out for a while. Sometimes you just gotta figure out what the fuck you need to do. Like from 100 Thieves, it was good that you had him, but he was only there.
They got the most out of him. Like the point of buying him was to win a championship. That did happen,
and they did.
Yeah,
I think if he would have got at least a All Pro third team, second team, I think he wouldn't have had. He had a mental boom, and like some people say it's choking, some people say it's just nerves. It depends on how you want to break it down. Like I keep going back and I look at that final. I'm like, 100 C's might seem like the better team, but I don't see them. I kept looking back at them like I went back and it was a fresh, set of eyes. I'm like, I don't see them winning.
Which split? The summer one or the spring one?
No, the spring one. That was just sometimes the team.
I think they just caught the wrong team getting hot at the wrong moment.
That happened. Oh, they choked.
I generally thought they were the better team. They were the better team. I just think that they caught you at the wrong time.
Like because people say, "Oh, they choked." I'm looking at them like, where did they choke at? At what? Because to me, the way I see choking is a moment or a certain say that makes it seem like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
because that's how I see choking. Like, if a player gets outplayed by somebody, it just gets constantly outplayed. I'm like, no, that person was just better. And my thing is this. Like, and the person that everyone said was better, but was never in the lead. I'm like, I see. To me, the way I look at it, I need to see. Well,
it's all about how you define one series. If you define one series by that, instead of looking at a lot of other factors, you could come to that conclusion. Then, yeah.
Because to me, the way I look at it is when you clearly had a lead, and then you start doing added character things. Because I've always said it like this: someone might not seem like they're better than you, or two, it's time to be better than them. It's just being
more clutch.
Yeah, sometimes people are just more clutch.
Doesn't mean you're better. I've seen a lot of clutch players in leagues. They're not really better. It's just more they're better under pressure, which is better in one aspect. It's fine.
Yeah, but sometimes that person might be better than you. But like you got to realize too, and this is why I say people do. There are people I've realized they don't like when it comes to like that kind of thing. They don't take the regular season seriously. That's me. Once I look at someone's enough games and I came to a criticism that this player does not give a fuck and he comes into the playoffs like this, I'm like, wait a second, how am I supposed to judge him? Because this shows me he sucks, but this shows me he's the number one player. I'm like, where am I supposed to look at? It's like it's
the general analysis. Because if you look at Abadage from last year, that last summer split versus the summer split he had this year, then it's hard to really. I think you're talking about. You're mentioning like changing up your analysis based off the point you're at. I think you're meaning.
Yeah, because
I couldn't call him a bad player if what I just
don't
saw
call him a bad player. I'm just like
I think it's just one of those things where some players at certain moments they're just playing bad than what they normally are at. That's just what it is. You know,
it's like is our expectation too high, or is
I don't know.
He might be good, but it's like
because some people just generally don't play good for a long sprint. Like for how I mentioned it with Wonder. Wonder wasn't playing good for a while.
It's like is it like if the pressure's out of, do they just falter? That's another thing too. It's like is it pressure that gets to them? The nerves. That's how I'm like, okay. It's like, oh, he choked. I was like, okay, where? I was like, oh, because we put all this pressure on him that he was this top player in the regular season.
These players didn't look at Reddit like that. You know, these players
be like, I can see that. I can see that you can see.
I'll levy this to you. If you watch someone for a very long time and you can see how good they are, and you can see that they're drastically just a bit better than someone else.
Yeah.
For me, when I look at certain things, I can't just be like after one game that person's better than them. You know.
Yeah.
One, you give them credit where credit is due. That's
it's like the whole thing with Paul Pierce and LeBron. You know damn well LeBron's better than Paul Pierce, but then why the fuck was Paul Pierce getting beat the fuck out of LeBron? It was like
that's the thing. You could be better by like the skills you have, but unless you're more, but you also have the clutch factor too. I think the best players ever for me, they've been able to be under pressure.
It's the mentality.
Clutch. Yeah.
It's the whole thing with the mentality.
That's the reason why Perks won a mini championship as he did. Do you think Perks was the best mid laner those championships he won? Sometimes no. He was like sometimes top 4, but he wasn't the best, you know? Yeah. There's some titles teams have won where they don't have the best players at every position. Literally this split for LCS. Did NRG really have the best players in every single position? No. I mean, but everyone's going to look at that finals and go, man, that must have been the best team all year. It's like, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, because they can show you
they say that they're better in the finals.
They can show you that they can be the energy is such an enigma, and that's why I keep saying it. They can show you.
How would you view that then? So, because by what you just said, wouldn't you just view NRG as better than Cloud9 because they were more close in the finals then? And you might have been underestimating them.
No, you know why? I don't say you know what? And I had this same thought. Mm-hmm. I never underestimated them because I see them beat Cloud9. My issue is, how the fuck do you go from beating Cloud9 the way you do to losing to IMT the same way you do? And that's the issue. That's the issue where I'm like, I have
a volatile game. That's just how it is, man. League is such a volatile game to the point where
if you know how to adjust to a team and beat them, how the fuck you lose it to scrub? Because they beat 100 seeds when 100 seeds were decent. When 100 seeds when 100 seeds was worse, they lost. I was like, wait a second, what the? And that kind of analysis makes my head hurt. That's why, like, when I play certain Pokemon decks and Yu-Gi-Oh decks, and I'm like, I beat these good teams. It's like when I was playing fucking Cash Terror. I beat these good teams, but I'm losing the fucking heroes. What the fuck is going on?
It's the nature of the game, I think, is missed there, which is League, given how game structure is, given how certain teams draft, given how certain teams play certain situations out, it's not really that the team they're facing is better than them. That's just the way the game is, to the point where, like, you could mess up being the better team, and then you'll still lose to a bad team, and that could just be it.
But I would take that analogy. But I would say that was Bible, but then I look at how but then I look at how
that's not
T1. You know what? Sometimes T1 and JG draft like shit. It still stopped out their competition. I was like, what the fuck? T1 be troll drafted and beating people at 20 minutes away. Yeah. And of course, I'm not saying T1 is. I'm not saying NRG's T1. I'm not saying that. Don't get that miscued. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. I look at NRG. I look at how they play. I'm like, this could be the best. I'm looking at like this.
Let's be honest here. If this was competitive LCS, this be a 5th place team.
Yeah.
I think they realized this was one of the best chances to win a title. Because people understand when it comes to like winning titles in certain years of certain games, you need to win at that moment. Yeah. Otherwise, you might have a chance to win ever again. Let's be honest here. In every other LCS year I've watched, if that was a team from like 2 years ago, 2022, 2021, 2020, that'd be like a 5th, 4th place team. Definitively that. Not randomly being
NRG was a 5th place team. That's the sad part.
They actually got 5th. The split. That's third in place. They got 5th place. Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. It's like I can't wrap. It's like I know League is volatile, but no. The issue is this: even when
Yu-Gi-Oh, you just mentioned, like you're playing Kashtira, but if you're playing against heroes and Easy Eye got the better hand traps and the better outs in game 1, you had the better deck, but he just opened up and had better cards in that clutch moment, though. You know, you have the better deck. It's proven statistically you have the better deck, but that's just RNG is just not in people's favor sometimes. You know?
Yeah, but League is not as RNG as card games. That's the thing too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know how to you can control your draft. I can't control what I can shuffle. You know, every time I've shuffled with Chimp out, I lost to a guy in round 1. Shouldn't have lost, but my deck just decided to not wake the fuck up. I finally shuffled my deck again. We played just for fun. I whooped him. I was like, what the fuck? And that was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's one of those things where I look at. I was like, wait a second, what the fuck? And I'm looking at analyzing like,
because like the only players that I thought were super underrated on NRG was just Palafox and just FBI. That's it.
The FBI I knew was great. Palafox, I've always been like, he's all right, but he's always been like a fringe third or fourth bed mid laner. But it's like mid lane, I'm like, it's like because like the best mid laner is JoJo. That's not even close. I think just skill wise, I think second, but then it comes to like second. Who's the second?
Yeah, because if you're looking at second throughout this year, like Gory massively slumped. It was after he got that Jace Pentakill. After he got that Jace Pentakill, his gameplay just like completely slumped. And people mentioned it was because he was like homesick or whatever. But if we're gonna levy that, he still played really bad.
But I've always thought Gory was all right, but never good. I was like, he was all right.
Menace popped off really hard in spring, but slumped pretty hard in summer.
You know why? Because no one knew how to play against him. Once he figured him out,
honestly, he has a very predictable play style. You could see it coming from a mile away.
Plus his laning phase is absolute abysmal. According
that first game he played.
Yep.
Oh Lord, that's just it's
just
crazy. His first
abysmal.
Victor game ended up the same way his last game on Yone went. Crazy.
Yep. It is like, okay. It is like Palafox shit. It's like if it's one of those things where if NRG just wins one of those IMP
even that guy Insanity, remember the guy on TSM Insanity?
Yeah.
I thought he played pretty well given his circumstances.
To me, if TSM and NRG just played a little bit better, they might be second or third team over Gory and Menace.
Yeah, I thought people really shitted on Insanity. Like this guy is playing perfectly fine.
The issue is when Insanity is getting fucking beat by Quid, you're looking at him like, you might be good, but you could go toe to toe with Palafox. It's like Palafox is one of those guys where
a bar now for the LCS going toe to toe with Palafox.
It's because it's like Palafox is good, but then you look at the team, you're like, why are you dying now? Why are you dying? Why
are you sub 500 record? That's a sub 500 record, right?
No, it's 500. No, 99 is 500 at the dot. That means you're no better, you're no worse.
That means you won as many games as you've lost.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
because you're looking at it like, why are you losing to these sorry ass teams? If you were good, you should be beating sorry ass teams, even if your comp is bad. It's like but the issue is too. Macro is not good sometimes on NRG. Laning's not good. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on Ignar. That could be 30 minutes by itself. Like it's literally SPI by himself. Sometimes go against fucking double lifted Busiel. You're like, it's like
yeah. Same thing. What I was also extending is like TSM this year, pretty just meh. You know,
they were mid. They were literally team solo mid. They were team mid. They were team fucking mid.
I thought getting rid of Maple was the worst thing that they could do. They got Insanity. He played way better than I thought he was.
No,
pretty good.
Insanity was an right? Insanity was an upgrade over Maple. I kind of saw that because I've been watching.
But how lucky a team can you get where you get rid of a guy who was pretty good for you? Arguably, I think Maple was a top 4 mid when he was here. Arguably, I guess you could measure how you want to. You get a guy, not a random newbie, he's been around, but like getting a guy that you're like, I don't know if this is be good. Plays really well, right? But your ass is over here fucking bringing out Haunter.
Yeah, that was the issue too. You got fucking Haunter and
Chime can't play a playmaking support to save his life.
Don't get me started on Chime.
If the meta is Rakan, Leona, Thresh, Blitzcrank, Nautilus, that guy is trash. That guy is garbage at playmaking supports. That Rakan play he did in that TSM series. Holy Christ, that was bad.
Oh, dude, he
walked up and just died. If that's not competitively griefing, sandbagging on stage, I don't know.
I'd have been like that wrestler clip, like when the black was like, I don't know what I just saw.
We'll talk about Europe this way on Sunday.
Yeah.
Remember when Hillisek on Rail gave up Mad Lions is playing? We just walked in and died.
Yep.
If I saw it on stage, I'm choking you. I'm getting up and I'm choking you.
Oh shit.
God damn. So for TSM, for me, I don't know. You knew Reginald was going budget on their roster.
Yeah.
Because TSM may or may not be in the league come next year. We've not heard any other more concrete decisions on that. Actually, I don't know how the LCS is going to look next year. My guess is we'll see a few new faces. And I think, some new faces is good for the league, potentially. Because I'm being honest here, I think Immortals is just giving up for the most part.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out who's the second team that's leaving. Yeah.
You'd want to say Dig, but the problem here is a lot of people would have probably said Golden Guardians back in the day. The issue here is now that Golden Guardians have a taste of what success is, whatever for their org is in general, they're probably not trying to leave anytime soon now. This is their best year by far, and they've been in the franchising system since like 2018. It took them 5 years to actually reach a finals.
Yep.
And go to Worlds in the same year. Crazy. EG might be out.
That'd be crazy.
That would be insane. Yeah, Team Liquid this year is weird. Like I don't really feel like they've pretty much sandbagged through spring. Summer, it wasn't like they really improved. I think it was just more like they're just better than these other dog shit teams. But not by much, but it was just they got APA in there over Harry, and he was just like the stable-ish player they needed over Harry. That was really it. I think Yon never really was that player that everyone thought he was going to be. Core JJ, not Core GG. That guy's through every. I was running it this year. So criminal. Oh Lord! It basically was just like the Summit team. We're being completely honest here.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it was just the Summit team. I don't know how they're gonna do it.
With a little bit of PLC toward the end.
Yeah, PLC got it together toward the very end. That's it. I'm like them and Cloud9. Oh my God, they're about to get ass railed. Holy shit, this is bad for them. Like EG. Oh Lord, EG. Started out with a pretty good contending roster. Bought some bargain bin players and
still got to the playoffs. That's me. Dad.
They built their best roster and went and got bargain bin 99-cent store player.
Yep.
And only got third because Jojo Pion popped off so hard. And Unforgiven, you pair him up with Ayla. And the same thing we talked about with FBI and Ignar. Like,
Ayla didn't look bad, but it was
that
like
combination of players is not good.
Yeah.
You pair up Unforgiven with Ayla, and it's just like, oh, God, kill me now.
Yeah, it was like, damn, I feel bad.
It's crazy. Last year, EG knocked TL out of going to Worlds, and this year, TL knocked them out of going to Worlds.
Yep.
Nicole's like, what's that video she did?
Poetic justice.
Yeah, like fucking how about you about to miss Worlds on spending $7 million on your roster? Well, you know what, Nicole? You know what's funnier? Not making Worlds when you had a great roster in spring, actually.
But the issue is that team also kind of flailed out. That's me. They're fucked either way. Because think about it, their spring team didn't do much better. Like, that's the sad part.
Didn't they get knocked out they got knocked in the losers bracket too, I think. Yeah.
They're about the fourth. They're either fourth or fifth seed, like in that place at that time too. Like with that team, they had COVID, and by the time they recovered, they were too far gone. I was like,
by the time they had actually recovered, put a factor in, they lost so much practice, scrim time, really no way you can really make all that up. And then EG overreacts to that, goes and bargain bin shopping for people like Revenge and Armao. Crazy. Grabbing Ayla from FlyQuest, knowing he played super shitty on that fucking org. And they're like, you know what? We'll just take this guy, even though this guy's completely shit. Sure. He'll make us better. Crazy. What's interesting is, FlyQuest, we didn't talk about them yet. That might be the biggest bomb this year.
No, that was definitely the biggest bomb. And that was the biggest fuck up. That was the biggest what if. That was just the biggest like if because of course you bring over Ayla, but visa issues. You play Winston. Winston's popping the fuck off. I'm always in the contention. If you're popping off, you stay with that recipe until that shit starts fucking up. All right, cool. They end the first half of the spring split 8-1. Perfect. 8-1 is better than nothing. Should be 9-0, but that TSM game, they troll. Not gonna talk about that. And in the second half, they bring in Ayla. Okay, the chemistry's not there between him and Prince. Okay, and then toward the end, I would have had what's the word? Not
It's crazy in
face.
spring. You mentioned they finished
Yeah,
14-4 in spring. Now, give or take that second half of the split, the games that they won. I mean, they all didn't look
there were
the best,
sixes. There were
but
6-3, and that was like
mhm.
a shaky 6-3. I in my
Their laning
opinion,
phase all got worse for the
yeah,
most part.
because Ayla Princeton had symmetry. Like
Speaking of
I like
running it most of the year,
like
for being honest here.
I would have more respect for FlyQuest if they would have just stuck with Whistle, because you already got a recipe working. Why the
The thing
fuck
is,
would
you already
you?
have what you already had. What you said. Why risk bringing in a new player week 5 into a split
Yep,
when you've already built this synergy with this amount of time right now? You gotta just be like, hey man, we'll just start you in summer. We'll give you a fresh start in summer.
yep,
Because what they did basically was, hey, we were doing really well with this guy unexpectedly. Didn't think he'd be doing this well for us. Then you just keep that.
yep.
And what was their alternative? Kicking out Winsome for Ayla, who got shafted by visa issues. Obviously not his fault, but it's one of
Yeah,
those situations where
sometimes shit
you just
happens.
ruin your entire team chemistry then. What are you
Yep.
sacrificing? Giving this guy a shot over your team chemistry you've built?
And then
Which is
the
obviously
worst
really hard to do in a 5v5 game.
part is you don't even fucking keep him for the whole split. You bring back Prince during the playoffs. Like the fuck
Yeah, they were playing Ayla until they got ripped apart by Cloud9 in that semifinal, that upper bracket semi thing. And then they're
Yep.
like, you know what? For against the Golden Guardians match to go to MSI, let's just randomly bring back Winsome.
Yep. And you just like, okay, cool. You just did what? You just
And then guess what happened after the guys? They lost to Golden Guardians and then Winsome. You know what? I know you just did really well again for us. Go back to Academy. Oh my god. Like the
yep.
bad decisions just kept running with this team the entire fucking year. Then in summer, the first week of summer, I remember they went 0-3. And then they went like undefeated after week 2. They went 3-0. But
Yeah,
then
they were
everyone
3
knew when they went 3-0 that weekend. We talked about it on here. That didn't look like a 3-0. You're like, huh? None of that shit. You should have any confidence in that shit. Because you knew next week they're about to get blasted again. You knew they were fucking frauds. So
Yep.
week after that, they blown out again. They pretty much get blown out the entire split. Then randomly, God, do not let them gaslight you guys thinking this shit. They played Spirax because apparently Vikla benched himself, only to be like, no, it was always the plan for Vikla to come back. Yeah, man, these fucking ors and the decisions. So even if Spirax had went fucking 10-0 on Jace, you're telling me really he would have honestly been subbed out? If he had stopped the entire game and they won because of him, he would have got subbed out? No way. People, god damn this Oregon and their fucking shitty decisions this year. Then Vikla comes back, and actually for his last week of the LCS, he did look better,
Yep.
But at that point, since he had already been playing so badly, they're gonna keep this guy. They're not keeping you. It doesn't matter how well you played in the last 2 weeks of the split. You're already out of playoffs, And they bomb out in their last week of the LCS too. I remember they 1-2 in their last week anyway. Pretty sure they finished 6-12. I remember. They lost on week 6. They ended up winning against TSM because TSM just fell apart in the last week, and they ended up just only FlyQuest beat TSM and they beat IMT, and they ended up their season with a loss to Cloud9. Just like, bruh. They brought in Vulcan. That didn't work out. It just seems like Prince just needed like a specific support to win with,
Yep, and they had it, and they just like psych or bring in this guy, and boom, everything went to shit.
Yeah, that's just. Yeah, I'm curious to see what FlyQuest are going to do because they got rid of a guy who had been really integral to a lot of FlyQuest's random success over these last years. I think these decisions were made by Papa Smithy too. which he was on 100 Thieves before too, and I think he just made bad decision after bad decision. But if you're trying to patch up what's going on with this roster, it's really hard to, because you kind of feel like this team should be doing better. Like they given the players on their roster, they should be a lot better than what they're showing, but just wasn't clicking, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I think the reason why it couldn't click is because like your top side duo is Spica and Vulcan. That's why Spica and Impact. I've never been the hugest fan of Spica. I've always thought he was just really overrated as a player in general. I'm not surprised he didn't do well for them. He didn't do well on TSM last year. Didn't think he'd do well on FlyQuest this year. I don't know what happens with them coming up this year. Because if they're trying to keep some of the roster they have, they just need a new mid laner, like who they get, honestly. That's the case, though. But we don't even know if they're keeping the rest of the other roster, too. Or like, are they going to blow it up? Are they going to, try and see what direction their team is going to go to this year? But that is going to pretty much wrap it up here. Much just having, quick show, kind of recapping a good amount of what the LCS was this year. Anything else you want to mention about the LCS this year before we kind of head out, actually?
I mean, the LCS was entertaining for what it was, but too many games were like decided within the first 5 minutes. You were like, yeah, and some of these games, some of these teams need to learn how to have a win con and execute it. But there are some games where them shits was going 50 minutes. I'm like, this shit could have been over.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The throws were just too damn high.
I was like, God, I thought I'd be thrown sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck? This is not it. This is just...
These are supposed to be the guys competitively. These are supposed to be the pros here.
Yeah,
guys, supposed to be the pros actually. And I think I've mentioned this before too. For me, the way I've looked at it for a little bit of time is because I know people are mentioning these LCS teams have no shot at doing well at Worlds. They're not supposed to, really, if you really kind of look at these teams. But if domestic success is all you're going for, why not try out these different picks and different comps? There's no reason why some of these champions getting picked now shouldn't have been picked before. Like, there's no reason why Ivern shouldn't have gotten picked before. Champion's been literally broken for a while. And they're just now picking it up, Because it's that whole thing of like, oh, I got to see the better players do it for it to be like, solidified. When it's like you're playing in the LCS, if we're being honest here, you having an edge. I feel like these teams are trying to play the same way they've always been playing without an edge to them. You know what I'm saying? They're all playing like this weird scaling style when in reality, it's just not going to work. Actually, they're kind of just playing just for domestic success. And I can understand that from certain orgs' point of view, because if you don't have a roster that's going to do well at Worlds, there's no point in you having like Worlds aspirations anyway, because you're not going to do well at Worlds anyway. But if we're looking at how like drafting is for the LCS, I mean, what is the priority on some of these champions? Like I really feel like a lot of these people who's been drafting and the people picking the champions and stuff like that have really overreacted to a lot of the nerfs of these champions. There's no reason why Wukong shouldn't still be played. No reason why Jinx shouldn't still be played, or Aphelios, or Sion, or Maokai. Like did Wukong really receive that big of nerfs? Actually, like, come on, man, that's just how I see it. Because there's no reason why we shouldn't have priority on certain champions because they have like slight nerfs. It's like we have like ban lists and people just overreact to like slight nerfs, and it's like, dude, it's the same shit, maybe with a different step, maybe.
No, exactly.
Happens a lot of time in Yu-Gi-Oh! We're like, oh, this powerful card I was playing all year just went to 2. You realize that means literally nothing, right? You just have to play one more card, and it's one more step to get to your combo.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's been my biggest problem with the LCS. It's just, people, the drafting has gotten exponentially worse. The gameplay just kind of feels like we're watching just two retards fighting half the time and shit. It's like, bruh, these teams are awful, Like the LCS is, I imagine, real bad right now, actually. I mean, maybe at World, they might, play spoiler, but I really, really doubt it's going to happen, honestly. And if it does happen, great.
If it doesn't, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's I like when people pick Vi. I think Vi is a great early game champion. But why aren't people playing champions like Jin Zhao? You told me Jin Zhao can't work, but Vi can. What are we doing here? You know, the Orin priority. Oh, seeing in a top laners play Sion. Oh God. Oh Lord Jesus. Seeing these guys play Sion was not Sion, Cassante. I might as well just been while watching fucking Turkey or some shit. These guys playing Cassante was bad. Remember when the only Cassante player that was good in the region was Fudge?
Yeah.
Remember that? God damn, man. If Fudge is your best Cassante player, God help our souls. We're about to get so screwed, actually. The fact that Dokla thinks he's a good Rumble and Sion just breaks my heart. Oh my God. So a lot of people think NRG has a good shot at doing well. Oh, because they play more aggressive and they're willing to take fights. I just don't even want to acknowledge that. It's like, okay, guys. Okay, let look at it this way. What's the biggest reason why Mad Lions always lose? It's not because they don't have decent players for what they have. It's because they always take fights. Always taking fights is not a good idea, especially when you don't have proper especially when you don't have certain cooldowns ready. You have certain champions that can't really team fight in a more of a skirmish style. There's so many different things. Just because a certain team does a style well doesn't mean they do that style well enough as they can. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
But on Sunday we're going to be doing this for the LEC. Actually, I kind of just wanted to make sure we just kind of did this for the LCS. Actually, thought I get the worst league out of the way first. But yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. Sorry, this was on Monday. We're going to do this on Sunday, but more or less so. If it's not on Sunday, then you can probably see a late episode on Monday. Actually, anything else you want to say about 100 Thieves or anything before we leave? Actually.
I just hope they figure out what they need to do. That's my biggest thing.
Do you think he's trying to just save money? If he's trying to save money and get some decent players saving money, that might be the goal.
I think that is too, but also, I would not be surprised if 100 Thieves no longer has a league team because they don't really have.
Gonna keep Double Lift.
I think once his contract's up, that's when the team might just be out.
I think if you are in their position, because it looks like they're just trying to just grab all right enough players to just potentially have the upside of just spending cheap and getting the high risks out of it.
Yeah.
Because if that's true and they're bringing that general sniper guy in, oh my God, I hope that works out. I hope it's not one of those spring split situations with Tenacity where he's not what they thought he was and they just insta get rid of him.
Yeah,
you gotta get another guy.
That whole thing with Tenacity, that's a whole thing. I would be surprised that comes out later where Tenacity might have been mentally done because I think that whole shit with the spring finals the spring playoff game that might have just mentally boomed him out of playing in the league. Cause he was just, you could tell mentally he wasn't all there. You're like, yeah, this guy ain't here. He's done.
Well, guys, thank you guys for watching so much. We will see you guys potentially on Sunday, give or take how I feel after work. And if not, we'll just see you on Monday. That way it's the episode you guys will have. Because I was thinking about not having an episode tonight, but, couldn't leave you guys without us talking about League for a week, Closing in on that 200 episode special. Pretty much for that, we'll probably have, I don't know if we'll have one of those streams where we used to have, but we'll have some guests on for the 200 episode special. Actually, we'll have some fun. It probably won't be League related because it'll be a chance to just have one of those older streams like we used to, with obviously restrictions because it's YouTube, But yeah, we'll have some fun when we get over there. Mr. Chaz is putting out a few more videos. He put out some videos recently. Go check those out. You have anything in the pipeline for your channel anytime soon?
Yeah, I got a few. I gotta and finish up a Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon one. Just me talk like I realized okay, do two. I'm gonna do two. I got one coming out. I'm combining the Pittsburgh and the special event Barcelona one. It just makes it easier because there's another regional or another regional this weekend. That's why I want to get that done before that starts. The Yu-Gi-Oh one we're talking about Floonery finally winning the YCS and why you and my possible return of back into Yu-Gi-Oh in a few weeks. Flu winning kind of and damn not hitting D shifter and all the people crying that D shifter should have been banned. Like it's like you want the it's I see why people leave Yu-Gi-Oh and that's a whole other discussion for another time.
I can see why too.
It's like
effort put into some of these lists, and people don't understand it's not really always our TCG doing it. It's the OCG has that big say in it too. But I could understand the consumer point of it where you're playing competitively. You have these cards out here doing like these other cards that are doing really, really well. And you have lists that come out that have like 1 or 2 hits. It's like, were you really analyzing the format? Were you really doing what you should be doing? Because because won't go on a tangent, but the point of the list coming out later on, as they claim, was to give them enough time to analyze the format and see what they exactly need to hit.
Yeah.
So out of all these months for Yu-Gi-Oh, the only hit you could make up was Bestial Magma Hunt and Kashir Rise Art. Really not Eradicator, not anything else. Just that. I'm not saying Eradicator should get hit. I'm just saying, like, those are the only things you could realistically come up with to get hit out of all these months. There's no way. That means they're just bullshitting. That means either one, 2 things are true. Number one is the OCG takes too long in getting them the list back that we can have, or they simply just don't really understand and analyze the formats the way they've always said they've been doing. Honestly, because our last list came out like 2 weeks before Nationals did, and that was around July. And we're now in the middle of September, and they could only come up with Bestial Magma Hunt 1, Chaos Base 1, and Cashier Rise Heart at 0.
They're also thinking about, the issue is they're also thinking about not hitting stuff from the 10th. That's the only card I got hit from the 10th. Thinking about was Bestial Magma Hunt.
Yeah, and I understand that. That is fully understandable. You don't want to hit something that people just got in their hands that they're spending a lot of money on. That's understandable. That I could get. It's just when you're looking at it from a consumer point of view and a competitive player point of view, it's like, that's all you could come up with? It's almost that I can understand to that sentiment why people don't feel like they're trying. You know? After all these many months, bro, what are we doing here? Terrence, what's up, buddy? Terrence, Terrence, just text me if you want to be on a one-on-one show very, very soon. Just text me and we'll set it up, brother. It'll be nice to talk to you again. I'll talk to you in a while. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been telling you guys, everyone, consistent content is coming. I was gonna ask you about something too.
Yeah, what's up?
For Pokemon market watches, we'll probably do like 1 a week if you want to start doing that. Actually, yeah, because I already did some, but I was actually, if you want to do one a week, maybe some weeks where we don't have shows on Monday, we can just slide in one, but like the newest products and prices actually. So, all right, everyone, see you guys later. Hopefully, you guys had a great weekend. Be safe, be great, be productive, take care of yourself and each other. This is MSK, and this is Online Cinema Entertainment, your one place for online cinema. We're signing out, guys.